He was a man born into hardship, forged in violence, and destined for greatness. A name that would echo through history and strike fear into the hearts of millions. Genghis Khan, the ruthless leader whose empire would stretch farther than any the world had ever known. But how did he accomplish such a feat? What were the brutal tactics that enabled a man from the remote steppes of Mongolia to conquer nearly all of Asia and beyond? Genghis Khan's rise to power is a tale of relentless ambition, military genius, and an unmatched willingness to use terror as a weapon. His empire was not built solely on the strength of his warriors, but on carefully calculated strategies designed to break the spirit of his enemies before the battle even began. In this video, we'll uncover the brutal methods Genghis Khan used to conquer vast territories and unite the Mongol tribes, transforming them into a force that changed the course of history forever. But be warned, this is a story of unimaginable violence, but also of genius that changed the world in ways you may not expect. Shift to the harsh, icy landscape of Mongolia, depicting the difficult life of nomads in the 12th century. Before he became Genghis Khan, the universal ruler, he was simply Temujin, born into a small and struggling clan around 1162 CE. His early life was marked by brutal hardship. At just 9 years old, Temujin's father was poisoned by enemies, leaving him and his family to fend for themselves in the unforgiving Mongolian wilderness. But it was these early struggles that forged his will to survive. Betrayals, captivity, and near-death experiences only hardened Temujin's resolve. He learned to be ruthless in the face of danger and to trust only a few. This upbringing in a world of constant violence would shape the brutal leader he would one day become. Temujin's first taste of power came when he united a small group of followers and began his campaign of conquest. He did not rely solely on brute strength. Instead, he used cunning, fear, and manipulation to build alliances, sow discord among his enemies, and strike when they were at their weakest. The Mongol tribes were a collection of fiercely independent clans, constantly at war with one another. But Temujin had a vision. He knew that to rise to true power, he had to unite these tribes under one banner, a seemingly impossible task given their deep-seated rivalries. Temujin's approach was a combination of diplomacy and sheer terror. To those who submitted to his rule, he offered protection and wealth. But to those who resisted, the consequences were brutal. Entire villages were wiped out, their people slaughtered or enslaved. He sent survivors back to their homes as messengers, warning others of the fate that awaited them should they resist. Through terror and charisma, Temujin succeeded in uniting the Mongol tribes. In 1206, he declared himself Genghis Khan, meaning universal ruler, marking the beginning of a new era for the Mongols and a nightmare for their enemies. Switch to intense battlefield scenes where Mongol armies are overwhelming their enemies, but not just through combat, through fear. One of Genghis Khan's most powerful weapons was psychological warfare. He understood that defeating the enemy was not just about winning battles, but about breaking their will before the battle even started. Genghis Khan used terror as a calculated tool. His armies were known for their unmatched brutality, slaughtering entire populations, burning cities to the ground, and piling skulls into towering pyramids. But the purpose wasn't just destruction. It was a message. Cities and armies surrendered at the mere sight of the Mongol banners, fearing the fate they had seen befall others. His tactics weren't just about physical domination. They were about creating a reputation so fearsome that it paralyzed entire nations before the first arrow was even fired. Beyond psychological warfare, Genghis Khan revolutionized the way wars were fought. He employed highly disciplined cavalry units that could strike with lightning speed and then vanish just as quickly. His army was not the largest, but it was the most mobile, the most adaptable, and the most devastatingly effective. Genghis Khan also introduced innovations in siege warfare, adapting new techniques to take down fortified cities. He used captured engineers and foreign technology to his advantage, bringing down city walls that were thought to be impenetrable. No city was safe from Genghis Khan's reach. From the great cities of China to the farthest reaches of Persia, his forces were relentless, adaptable, and ruthless. He demanded absolute loyalty and punished dissent with swift brutality. By the time of his death in 1227, Genghis Khan's empire stretched from the Pacific Ocean to the Caspian Sea, but his influence went far beyond mere conquest. His empire established trade routes, facilitated communication between distant cultures, and connected the East and West in ways that had never been seen before. Yet, Genghis Khan's legacy is a complex one. To some, he was a visionary leader who united warring tribes and brought order to chaos. To others, he was a brutal conqueror whose reign was soaked in blood and terror. But one thing is certain: his impact on history is undeniable. Even today, nearly 800 years after his death, the name Genghis Khan evokes both awe and fear. His brutal tactics built an empire unlike any other, one that would shape the course of history for centuries to come. Genghis Khan, the man who rose from humble beginnings to forge one of the largest empires the world has ever seen, was both a genius and a terror. His tactics were brutal, but effective. His legacy, both glorious and devastating. History remembers him as both a conqueror and a visionary, a figure whose ambition changed the world forever.